Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Camera Tuesday. In today's episode we're going to talk about Canon EOS 90D. So let's dive right into it. Now, this is what we classify as enthusiast DSLR. This is not done by me, this is done by Canon itself, because if you open the Canon webpage, you will find professional DSLR, you will find semi-professional DSLR, you will find enthusiast DSLR, and then you will find entry level. This is an enthusiast level. And in India, it's supposed to be around 1 lakh rupees, which is a quite significant amount of money. And in European Union and all that, you should get it for around $1,100. So this is the DSLR. Now, the what USP it has as a unique selling point is that it is 32 megapixel. Now, can you find a camera that has a higher megapixel than this? Absolutely, without any issue. However, not in APS-C. Most of the cameras that have high resolution, generally they are full frame. That is a critical aspect. For APS-C, this is a very big deal. So, and another aspect you have to understand is Canon has been losing around 10 to 12% market share per year. Like their sales have been down. Like this is on their part, and they are like, okay, now we finally listen. So this is the first time Canon APS-C is giving full 4K uncropped. That is very critical. You have to understand that. Can Canon do 4K? They have been doing it for a very long time, but they have always had some weird, awkward things done to it. Like they will disable autofocus, they will disable this, or they will disable that, and most of the time they will do a crop, so they can do what we classify as 1 to 1 pixel readout. So you can just read 1 pixel, another pixel, another pixel. Now you will be like, can't we do that with this normally? Well, problem is that because it's so spread out, you have to like read one, then you have to wait for your scan system to reach the second one, then you will read that, then you will read this is what we classify as pixel binning. So you will do that. Or if you are as powerful as Sony, you will read the whole damn sensor, and then you will have a quote-unquote 6K image. Then they will take the 6K image and then compress it to 4K and then give you the output. So doing uncompressed 4K is not a easy thing, but given the fact that almost every Tom, Dick and Harry is doing that, which includes APS-C systems as Fuji, which includes Nikon and all that. So this is a very critical thing, that this is the first time they are giving you basically uncropped 4K. To give you a context of that, Canon's full frame mirrorless also does not have uncropped 4K in many places. So that is a very big deal, this uncropped 4K. So Canon is finally listening to people. Now, dual pixel autofocus, it has been the a unique selling point of Canon for a very long time. This time it's fully activated. So it was there, it was like even older sensors had that, they just disabled it. Like, yeah, you go to basically 4K, I will disable the dual pixel. This time they are not disabling it. So Canon is like easing up on the Canon triple hammer. So that is a very interesting thing, and it is a pro body. Now, if you are coming from a DSLR, you will love the body of this. This is one of those things that Canon knows very well. This is one of those things, like being in the industry for 50 years, being in the early SLR days, that does come with certain advantage. They know how to make a good usable body. So the only company that I can even claim that comes close to this is either Nikon or Panasonic. Sony does not even come close to it. Like, it took Sony I think like 4 generations to realize, oh, people like big buttons that they can press, not some tiny button that you have to press like a with a stylus or something like that. So very good body, like you're gonna enjoy this. So that's what the DSLR is. Now then the question becomes, should you buy this or not? Well, it's Canon, so most of the people have a good relationship with Canon, from their equipment, from their company and all that, and they will be like, dude, it's Canon, I'm gonna buy it. So in those sort of scenario, go for it. And again, Canon lenses is a very important deal for it. Like even in my case, I also have 2 Canon lenses, so I can buy this and enjoy this. So in those sorts of scenario and context, is quite easy choice. Like if you already have Canon lenses, you like Canon, go for it, no discussion. Now the body is very good, because I already specified, like in mirrorless, only camera company that even comes close is either Canon or Nikon or Panasonic. Sony is like it's a good joke. So a great body. Now interface, this is one of those things that Canon knows very well. Like they are even more or less better than Nikon also, and I have used both of them. I have used both Nikon DSLRs and Canon DSLRs, and I can say with confidence, like Canon's user interface is like somebody sit down and designed the whole damn thing. This is what we classify as it just works. It's like, it's really good. It has touchscreen and you can touch the menu. Sony, please understand this. Touchscreen, you're supposed to use touchscreen. So interface wise, it's quite good. And given the fact that it has thumbstick for moving the basically autofocus point either in live view or in the viewfinder, it is quite an impressive feat for such a small camera, APS-C size. So it's very interesting there. Now it has mic again. Canon always had mic. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst. It's like it's mic there. Then it has headphone out, which is very quote unquote first for Canon's APS-C system, which is also very useful for many people. Now it has flip out screen, which is Canon's patent. So every other company has to do some extra tigadum to get it out. Like Fuji will have a fancy hinge design. Panasonic will also have another fancy design which they introduced in Canon, I'm saying Panasonic SH1. So you have to understand that Canon owns this, so they are giving you here. Now it has UHS-2, which is very interesting. Think of it this way: even though this does not have the latest and greatest buffer performance, it does have the advantage that, let's say you did a whole day of shoot and you come home and you remove the UHS-2 slot, put it into UHS-2 card reader, and if you have a SSD, you have to have it because UHS-2 card is faster than mechanical hard drives. Normal ones, not in the enterprise grade, normal hard drives. You can literally dump your files like whole day worth of shooting very easily. So that is a really important time saver, which will affect your shooting. Basically every day you will save a certain amount of time waiting for your card to unload. So it is a very useful thing. So there are more than enough reason to buy this. Like, it's Canon, you have the Canon lenses, it has great body, it has great interface, it has mic and headphone, and it has flip out screen, it has big batteries, it has USS2. So all these reasons are more than good enough. Like, if you know Canon, this is more than good enough. Now again, are there any reasons to avoid it for a first time buyer? Well, it's Canon. That's the first answer. Like, Canon cripple hammer. Like, I love the YouTuber who coined this, Canon cripple hammer. Basically, Canon has to cripple their own product because you have to understand, Canon learned the long lesson from the market crash they have been happening, and it's from their own CEO. They are saying like, yeah, we are losing around 10 to 20% loss per year after year after year. So what they are doing is like, they are trying to make a scenario where a user like you and me have to buy 15-16 cameras to do what they want to do. Basically, oh, you want full frame camera, buy this. Oh, you want full frame video camera, buy C700. Oh, you want like true this and that. Oh, you want USB charging for easy use, buy our mirrorless system. So they remove like their whole pipeline. In olden days, like as early as like from early 2000 to 2010 was very simple. It was like performance, even more performance, even more performance. So they were very simple. Like, performance was the only thing that was, they keep adding. Now what they are doing is like, okay, they have sectors now, APS-C sector and full frame sector, and in that sector they are like, okay, this is a small one, but give this feature there, remove this feature here, now do that. So it's really frustrating. Like, Canon released a mirrorless camera without a viewfinder. It does not have a viewfinder, but it has USB charging. So you're like, what the hell? And Canon's flat out refusal. They are like, we're not gonna give you 24 frames per second. Deal with it. Like, we can give you 60 frames per second. We can give you 30 frames per second. We can give you 25 frames per second, but we will not give you 24 frames per second. Why? So Canon can sell their series lineup, because many people have properly used Canon 5D Mark series and all that, because it had 24 frames per second, and you cannot like you can quote unquote like take basically 25 frames per second and frame skip it or do some compression, but it does not look that good. And people who are fluent in video editing and all that, they will see it, and you shot it at 25 and you are like sending it as 24. So if they want to splice, let's say their cinema footage with this system, they have to buy Canon C100. So that's what Canon is doing, like crippling things, because my camera, Canon 800D, has 24 frames per second. This newer one, which is much more expensive and released like after 3 years from my camera, it does not have it. So this is the whole point. Like, Canon has to cripple their own system. It's like, okay, remove this function, remove USB charging. Like, if people ask me why should they not buy DSLR, that's the first reason. It does not have USB charging. Now, unlimited recording. This is also a critical aspect. Videos are becoming more and more important. The days and the beginning era of Instagram and Facebook, they are like, fading away. Both of them, Facebook and Instagram, are moving to video, and YouTube is becoming a bigger deal. So video is the next big thing. And in video, the biggest issue was that European Union used to charge a video camera tax on quote unquote photo cameras that can do more than 30 minutes. So people are like, okay, 29 minutes, 59 second and 59 millisecond, that's it, go home. Like, you cannot tax it. So we could understand that. Panasonic was the first company that flat out paid the tax, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna give you like unlimited recording time. Now recently European Union has lifted that ban, so Sony cameras are now coming out, and soon the Fujis that will come out, they will also have unlimited recording. So Sony is like, yeah, first out the back, and even Panasonic is like, yeah, unlimited recording. So why the heck they did not do it? Again, they had to cripple it. They had to like, okay, why will, if you can buy this and utilize this, you will not buy Canon C100 series, which has generally super 35mm sensor, which are more or less APS-C size. So that is the reason they're like, yeah, let's cripple it. And the best autofocus system of this camera is the dual pixel autofocus, not the phase shift, because you have to understand, in generally DSLR system, there is an independent sensor that does autofocus. Now problem with that, there is a, again, it's not on the sensor, so inherently it's gonna miss. Inherently it's like, you know, they have to do a quote unquote calibration to make sure like, okay, if the sensor is saying to move the lens focus point to 2mm, it will move 2.5mm, so it can project on the sensor properly. There is always this sort of calibration has to be done. However, this was not an issue because there was nothing better. Now in the era of mirrorless, Canon's own system, this you can check out Frono's photos video, and he was like flat out, like the autofocus was not looking as snappy as Canon's mirrorless. Why? Canon's mirrorless had this you know, autofocus system on the sensor, so there was no calibration needed. Here it was like a little bit off. Now again, is that an issue? No, but question is like, why you are buying a DSLR if does not if the viewfinder, using viewfinder comes with a penalty of low level autofocus, and not to mention you cannot use eye autofocus if you are using the viewfinder. So that's the way it's Canon. It has to cripple everything. So because they think like everybody has like, you know, unlimited money, and they're like, they're gonna buy hundreds of things. So question, the first thing anybody is gonna ask is like, how does it hold up to basically Sony? Now if you have to even think about video, don't even think about Canon, because I have heard a very horrifying rumor, and I hope it's just a rumor, it's not true, is that Canon cannot do 4K. And what the reason they are giving you what we call as uncropped 4K is they are flat out not giving you 4K. They are reading, because to do uncropped you have to read the whole sensor. Reading the whole sensor is very tricky, and like in case of these APS-C sensors, Sony has to read 6K footage, then they compress it to 4K, and then they give you out. Because again, it is very difficult unless if you have only 8MP sensor. If you have 8MP sensor, awesome, that's 4K. So that is why movie cameras generally have 8MP sensors and all that, because then they can do 1-to-1 pixel readout. Now what is the other way of doing it when you have high megapixel system? Well, you either read the whole thing, compress it down, give it how Sony does it, or you do what older Sony used to do, is like pixel bin, basically read this line, read this line, read this line, you know, give one gap. Now problem with that, 32MP is such an odd number that it does not fit 4K if you do pixel binning. So they are saying 3:1 ratio. So basically they read the 3 pixels, they read the 1 pixel, wait for next 3 pixels, and then read the another one. Problem with that, the best you can get is 2.4K, and many people have pointed out in the video that inherently 4K output from Canon does not look quote unquote 4K. It flat out does not look that good. It's like, it's not bad, it's just meh. It's like, okay, like my file sizes have doubled, but I'm not getting anything quote unquote 4K. Now if that rumor is true, that makes sense. It's like, it does not have 4K, it does have 2.4K, which is barely more than HD. So you will find that out the hard way over the coming years. I'm saying just few months. I'm pretty sure once a lot of people get their hands on it, so even DP reviews there, which they're gonna do like a full in-depth video analysis, even that was their first impression. The 4K does not look that good. That's the reason. Like if that rumor is true, that Canon is flat out incapable of, like not capable of doing that quote unquote 6K, read it out, compress it, they are just flat out not doing it. They're reading the whole sensor and throwing the data away, and so they have 2.4K, 2.4 or 2.6 or 3.4, something like that. Basically they do not have quote unquote true 4K. So that is why, like, even the fact that this rumor flows around, and even the fact anybody who's like used the Canon this 190D, first thing they said like the 4K does not look like 4K like. So flat out I will say like stay away from Canon if you want to do video. Like if video is your thing, these both of them, A6400, which is cheaper and better one, and A6600, again I don't like the price of this, but again it does have more than enough grunt. Basically it also has headphone out, which for many people is very important, and it does have giant battery. This has longer battery life for compared to Canon system. Yes, if you record video, then this has better battery life. Not if you are only doing shooting, which if you use basically live view in this, you get around 800. If you use live view, basically if you use the optical viewfinder, you will get 1200. So you might think that is better, but again if you use live view in Canon, it drops to 400. So it has better battery life if you utilize basically electronic viewfinder. So this is generally has better battery life, better video function, flat out. But for photography, there are certain advantages. 32 megapixel is a good thing if you have good lenses. Then the fact higher sync speeds, higher sync flash speeds, that's also important for many photographers. And the fact that it can go around 1/8,000th of a second, important for some people who do experiment with high speed photography. So there are certain reasons why Canon is better. And again, the body and the user interface, that alone is the reason. But again, for me, the moment they said does not have USB charging, I'm like, I'm out. Now it does have clean HDMI output, so that is one good thing. Now again, even Sony has that. So that's the whole point here. Sony for video, Canon for photography. So this was my presentation on Canon EOS 90D. I hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I would urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.